Hello everyone, this is Tina with Tia's Treasures, and today let's take a look at I believe it's the June, would it be the June card kit from Simon Says. Let's take a look. I believe it's June and not May. So everybody's getting a mesh bag, different colors. Mine is black. Cool, I like black. And take a look and see what is in our bag. And I think that's everything. Ooh, what flavor? Is that root beer? Be root beer, not chocolate. And it is, I know nobody cares but me, but I need to know. Ah, root beer float, yay. Root beer, awesome flavor. And I need to see, is this June or May? This is not telling me. Yeah. Oh well, pretty sure it's June. Nobody probably cares but me. At any rate, it is the Etched Greeting card kit. And while we're here, we might as well look at our card stock. We have a nice green, that's a green leaf, 100-pound Desert Storm, 80-pound, a nice piece of vellum. It is 40-pound vellum and a 90-pound matte gold. Nice, nice, nice. So that's our card stock. And let me move this out of the way too. We have some Tim Holtz Ideology layers. A lot of fun pieces in there. I've already got a pack of this, so now I don't have to be worried, about hoarding it. I could just use it. So fun. We have a thanks die, the outline and the shadow layer. Yay. Look at this. I have some black foam. Always use that. I have a lot of white. I don't have much black. So we've got that. We have a nice sentiment label. Thank you. Greetings. Thanks. So grateful. All the thanks. Lots of stuff. We have a $5 off your next order. We have a nice little bronze envelope. I was looking forward to this card stock here. This is beautiful. Look at that. Just, it's double layered, and one side's daisies. The opposite side has like wood grain. Yes, yes, beautiful. I've got like foundry wax on my hands. They're a little nasty. I was trying to do a project. I'm not sure how it's coming along, but that's why my hands are dirty. I just love this paper. I actually was looking to buy a pack of it, which I don't know why I do that kind of stuff, because I very seldom use it. It ends up in my stash, just more stuff that I don't use. But then if I have an extra pack, I don't have to be afraid of wasting like the good side on this stuff. It's just, it's so pretty. I think this is Craft Consortium. Let's take a look. See, where'd I just put it? Where'd I put my sheet? The paper is Crafter's Companion, Delightful Daisies. Well, I had, I think, Crafters, right? Or something. I love this stuff. We have some foil transfer sheets. You can use those on those, the black, these are printed with toner, and anything you have with toner on it, you could use these. If you have like toner cartridges, you could actually even feed your own cardstock through your printer and just print it out black or whatever you want and foil that up. So that works. And then lastly, not counting this little brown bag everything came in. But lastly, we have the stamp set with some really nice retro looking stamps, big stamps, and few florals that are very, what's the word I want? Detailed. So you could just do these in black and color them, or just leave them black or emboss them. I think I'm going to use some gold embossing on some of these. Anyhow, I need to come up with a few cards, so let's go. So for this first card here, I have this stencil from Simon Says that I'm not sure of the name of it off the top of my head, but I'm going to be using that, the foil transfer sheets, and this transfer gel duo. Now this gel here, it's a paste, and you can either use like a mink or a laminator with foil, or you can just run your die cut or your cardstock or whatever through your die cutting machine, and the foil will stick that way. So that's what I'm going to be using. And I have this arch die. It's an infinity die from Hero Arts, and I'm going to be using that. So I don't need to put this paste over this whole cardstock. I'm just going to be putting a small amount, just enough because I want to cut out the arch. And so I'm going to make sure I have enough of this gel, you know, to cover the arch basically. Now I've got my gel, I've got some press and seal over the top of my gel so it doesn't dry out, because so many of my gels just, I don't use them that often, and I don't need them all drying out. I've had enough of them dry out in the past that when I saw this tip of using the press and seal, I was like, brilliant. You could probably use some saran wrap or any sort of plastic wrap over the top of them, but I do like the press and seal. I like using it for all sorts of stuff. So I have trouble using the back of these palette knives. I don't know why. I always want to just use the top of them, and that's not how they work. But, you know, I'm getting more in tune with it. So I just have a little bit more. I want to make sure that I've got this covered enough that I don't end up not having, you know, I don't want like some corner not foiled. So I'm going to get that all on there, and I'm going to end up washing off my stencil and leaving this to dry. Now this goes on white, but it dries clear. And once it's clear, you know you can put your foil on top of it. So I put the foil on top, and you right away you put the foil on, and then you just put it through your die cutting machine. And so I went ahead and did that, and I cut out the arch, and isn't that so just sparkly? And yeah, you can see what, you know, you just put it through your machine and just peel it off, and it's just beautiful. So you can see the spent piece of foil there. And I also have some of those sentiment strips I cut out. I cut out the thanks, and I cut out for being you. And then I took my Copic marker and I went along the sides of both of those. And do I do it on camera? I do it on camera. And I like to go from the back in case I slip. That way I end up getting marker on the back and not on the front where like the white lettering is, because I'm pretty clumsy and it wouldn't surprise me at all to mess it up. Now I've got this piece of pattern paper, and I'm using the back side. I guess, you know, back, front side, it's all perspective. But in my mind, the front side's got the daisies and the back side's got like this wood paneling. And so I'm using the greenish wood paneling, and I've got that cut to 4 by 5 1/4 because these are A2 cards. And I'm just going to glue down flat this arch right there in the center. I thought about popping it up, but honestly, it was a little bit laziness. I didn't want to have to struggle with my foam tape. So, you know, flat is good too. When you've got a lot of elements, you don't need to pop everything up. Yes, dimension is life, as some of our card friends like to say, but you know, laziness is not for the weak of heart, because sometimes I think it takes more to be lazy than it does just to do something the first time. But yeah, I offset that thanks coming off of the arch, and now I am actually putting the For Being You flush with the arch. And I am going to bring in some sequins that I have in my stash. I have these little shiny metallic green sequins, and then some just regular, like a lime green sequin. Is that lime green? I think it's like a limey green. Now those are not metallic, but they kind of add something. And so I'm putting 3 in the upper right corner and 2 in the left corner, just kind of, you know, that's my jam. That upper right corner, I think, needs sequins. I'm just going to glue this down. Now this glue dries clear, so I don't have to worry about it seeping through the hole in the sequin. And that's going to be it for our first card. And I think this was fun. I love that foil. I just love the shine on it. It's got a little bit of dimension because of the paste underneath it. And it's just really a fun look. Now moving on to our second card, I am using the Tim Holtz ephemera. Now I'm using my mind went blank. I'm using the Desert Storm cardstock behind the ephemera. And then I'm just using 5 pieces of the Tim Holtz ephemera here. I've got like our little library card, a floral, a butterfly, a bird, and then this blue like postcard thing. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but I've got that big spot there on the left, and I am going to try to stamp our sentiment on that. Now see, here's the press and seal again that I love using, and that way I'm able just to kind of use the press and seal to keep everything where I want it to be while I put glue on the back. Now I'm not going to get nearly enough glue on the bottom of my bird, or on the bottom, I should say, the back side of the bird or the butterfly, but that's okay because they're still going to be where we place them. We can lift them up slowly and put more glue underneath them. Now, if you want a collage and you're afraid that you're not going to remember where you put everything, you can use press and seal, or you can take a photo with your smartphone. That's always a neat way too. And so see there, I just peeled it back slow so I could put it on the back of the butterfly without it moving. And now I've got a little bit of the glue on the bottom twig the bird's standing on, so I wasn't worried about that moving, but I still have to get behind the bird itself. So I'm just kind of tilting it and getting the glue underneath it. Now the thing about stamping my sentiment on this Tim Holtz ephemera is it's very shiny. And at first I thought I was going to try heat setting it. And once I put the ink on it, it kind of was like little droplets of ink almost. So when I put the clear embossing powder over that, the embossing powder drank up the ink. So I don't know if you can see the shadow. What I did was I took a damp baby wipe, because this is glossy, and I just wiped it off. Now I still had the thank you right in the same spot, and I was able to put my cardstock right in the exact same spot because I've got it lined up on the one dark white line there, the 1-inch mark. And so I was able to line up my thank you again exactly with that line. And I re-inked it with, I believe I used some Tim Holtz oxide ink to re-ink it. I'm not 100% sure. And you can see I'm getting it ready to emboss. Like I said, it does not work. And I ended up just re-inking it and using my heat tool to dry the ink, and that did work. If I had the dye to this set, I would just use the dye
to the thank you, and then put a different sentiment right over the top of this. Now, I still could have cut it out a different way and fussy cut it, but it's awful close to that bird's beak. And it doesn't look too bad this way, so I just left it. But yeah, the oxide, now you can see I'm redoing it with the oxide. And you know, at the end of the day, nobody's going to be calling you out because your handmade card is not perfect. And if they do, they're not your friend. So if they're not your friend, why are you sending them handmade cards? Leave those things for the people who really like you. That's what I say anyway. Now mind you, I don't know that many people who really like me, so I don't send out a whole lot of cards. I donate them. But I could think of a few people I could say thank you to now and then. And I love the Tim Holtz ephemera, and I love the little butterfly and the little birdie. So this card didn't turn out that bad. And I'm just cutting off the little things that hang over the side. And at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm done with this card. This is it. And so card number 2, we're done with you. Now moving on to our next card. This one, I used the beautiful Daisies and the thanks. The thanks sentiment I stacked up like I stacked it up 3 or 4 times with using the yellow cardstock. Not this piece that I'm putting down right now, but a different piece of the yellow cardstock. And I just cut it out and stacked it. And then I used a white shadow layer because of the white daisies. And I just, you know, this pattern paper was so pretty. I really didn't want to cover it up, but it needed a sentiment. I could have found a smaller one, but what the heck. I hope your summer is going okay. It's not technically summer yet. It's still spring. But, you know, my garden's coming up. I actually have some vegetables that are coming up on my little plants. I have a green pepper and a tomato. Both which are bigger than the plants and are kind of weighing them down, which is odd. That doesn't normally happen, but it's happening this year. So obviously my soil is well suited for growing. So I am just getting my little thanks sentiment. It's slightly higher than center, and I am going to bring in some little yellow confettis I have. That's like for whatever reason, this mix had like some big blue sequins and little yellow confettis, and I decided just to use the yellow confettis. The blue sequins were a little too big, but the color matched nicely with the card. I don't know if you can tell with my little tray there, but I have 3 up on top and 3 on the bottom, just kind of making a snake. And that's it for this card. I just have to glue them down, and I don't have to worry about any glue sticking out the middle this time because these are confetti instead of sequins. And truth be told, I prefer the confetti, but you know, I'll take whatever. Most of this stuff I don't even know where a lot of this stuff came from in my stash, but I have it and I'll try to use it. So this was card number 4. Now moving on to, that was card number 3. I'm sorry, this is card number 4. Now this card here, I am going to be using the vellum, and I'm going to be using some Desert Storm cardstock and the 2 florals that came on the stamp set. And I'm going to be stamping them with some Tim Holtz, what is it, I need to look up the color. It is, okay, sorry about that. For whatever reason, my mind went blank again. That's Vintage Photo. I guess I could have looked at the the video and seen it was vintage photo. Instead, I went off to my shelf there and looked at the ink on it and said, ah, yeah, that's it, the vintage photo. It's one of the few I have the ink and the oxide for. And my dogs are barking again. I can't get through a single voiceover without them barking. And I swear they don't bark all day, just when I'm doing voiceovers. I think it's because I'm not in the room, so they think they can get away with it. I go in my craft room and shut the door, and then they go up to the window and look at every, twig that floats to the ground. Or twigs don't float to the ground, fall to the ground. Leaves float to the ground. And they bark at it all. So what I do with these florals is I just kind of stamp them all over. 4 of them fit perfectly, and I do have them going off the side a bit on a couple of them because I want it to look more like pattern paper. And I just love the look of vintage photo on the desert cardstock. It's just very, very nice. Because this Desert Storm cardstock, it's not as dark as like a paper bag. It's just like, it reminds me of the color of sand on a beach. Of course, you can get sand in a lot of different colors. White and black and brown, and I'm sure I have only ever seen brown sand, though I've never been privileged enough to be on a white sand beach. And black sand, I would think, would be too hot to even go on. I don't know. If you've ever been on black sand, let me know. Did it burn? I mean, brown sand by Lake Michigan burns my feet in August really bad. So I can't imagine going on a black sand beach. And now I'm going to take the sentiment, Happy Birthday, the big vintagey sentiment. And what I want to do is I want to heat emboss that on gold on some vellum. And so I'm going to take my piece of vellum and I'm going to score it because I want to take it and I want to tape it over the front of the card base here, or the card front, because you can't really tape vellum so it'll show. And then I score the bottom. Now I end up, when I tape it, it ends up taped a little bit too tight. So I end up cutting the bottom of the vellum and just putting glue dots behind the Happy Birthday. But I don't think I show myself doing that because I believe I went back after the video and redid it because I didn't like how tightly it almost like warped the front a little bit. So I carefully redid the front. But anyhow, so I did use my anti-static bag on the front of the vellum, and then using Versamark ink, I stamped it twice, and we got a nice impression going. And this is just the little, I think is that the rabbit tool? I've got a couple different tools I use, powder tools. And see, I'm ahead of myself again. I'm telling you things I haven't done yet. Well, technically I've already done them, but not in the video. I did these cards like 3 or 4 days ago, and then I was going to do the voiceover the very next day. But I went to the eye doctor, and he dilated my eyes, and I could not see for like 12 hours. I was in a dark room, eventually just went to bed at night and was like, well, I'll have to do the voiceover the next day because I was not going to sit here trying to squint at the screen when I couldn't see anything. But I do emboss this using Brutus Monroe's gilded embossing powder. It's a really nice gold. And I love the way this looks embossed on vellum. I'm just not a big fan of embossing vellum because you have to be very careful not to warp it. You need to kind of not just point your heat tool at it the whole time. You got to kind of go on and off and on and off, and it's kind of a pain, and I still end up warping it a little bit. But in the end, it all turns out okay. So if you liked my cards, please let me know which one you liked the best. I would love to know. I would love it if you could be kind enough to give me a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm. And I am slowly, ever so slowly trying to build my subscription base, just because I love it when I get comments and things like that. And I don't get a lot of them. So I figure the more people subscribe, the more comments I might get. And then I can just, well, I love anytime I hear from any of you. And even if I don't hear from you, I still enjoy doing this. So I figure, why not share? It gives me someone to talk to other than myself. And now I just got this tape down, and that's it. So these are my cards. And again, let me know which one you like the best, please. And thank you so much for sticking with me and watching till the end if you're still here. And bye-bye for now.